Hello everyone, this is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting. This is a special edition. I am going to be talking about art. I found this page where there's just a mass of paintings from the book 1001 Paintings You Should See Before You Die, and I thought I would talk about them as I scroll through them. So I haven't gone through this yet. I don't know what's there, what order it's in. I don't know anything. We're just going to scroll and I'm going to talk about it because I love art and I find it interesting, and a lot of people find it interesting. Just one thing, in my last video, I said in episode 18, I said something about that we were better than dumb apes, and I thought about that statement, and apes aren't dumb. Humans are dumb. By that, I meant, I guess, lower on the evolutionary scale, if you believe in Darwin. I don't know what I believe. I got to tell you, these days, not a whole lot makes sense about anything. It's crazy, right? Well, I'm here to cut through the muck with some beautiful art. So first we have Nebamoon's Garden, a fragment from the tomb chapel of Nebamoon. Okay, so I've never seen this before, but this kind of like wispy watercolor sort of palette looking thing. This is very indicative of from that time. So Neba, that's probably Persian. I'm gonna go Persian, Iran. I'm gonna go with Iran, Iraq. What do you think? Let's look it up. Nebamun. Right? Did I get it right? Nebamun. Egypt. I was incorrect. Okay, so next we have The Angel with Golden Hair, Unknown, from the State Russian Museum. So this is 1200. Russian art actually, it looked like this for a really, really long time. This is very characteristic. The big eyes, the sort of two-dimensional face. Usually the hair might be kind of intricate or a halo. The colors, the palette's like limited to just, a couple colors. It's not like overly bright or overly decorated. I think there's a certain kind of charm to it. This one is painted on wood, which I dig a lot. That someone just took a piece of wood and just painted this on it. You can see where they didn't paint, or actually no, they probably did paint. The paint probably fell off. I gotta make sure I keep the right distance. Also, in the last video, my voice was really annoying. I don't know. I can't listen to myself. It's really difficult. So, but I try because I think it's a way to get better. This is a apps from San Clement de Taul. From Catalunya, Barcelona. So this is a fresco, frieze. What's the difference between a fresco and a frieze? What is the difference between a fresco and a frieze? Frieze is a compositional structure. A fresco is a decorative process and medium. I am none the wiser, my friends. Fresco is a technique of mural painting executed upon freshly laid lime plaster. Murals are painted on already dried surfaces. Okay, so it's in the method of painting. That's what differentiates it. So this particular thing is probably a frieze. It has that look. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up another time. I'm going to keep it moving. This one it's not supposed to be funny, okay? But every time I see this, I laugh because I imagine that Mary's going, like, no, go away. No, go. Shoo. Right? She looks kind of like, wow. Like, look at her face. Let's enlarge it if we can. We can't really enlarge it. Oh, yeah, we can. Look. Oh, we can zoomify. See, look at her. She's like, But when we enlarge it, we see how freaking awesome this thing is. Now, this cracking that you see here, that's called crazing, and that's something that happens to paint over a long period of time. And people that collect ceramics and pottery will tell you that the pieces that have like just insane, intense crazing from like the 13th and 14th century, people go nuts over those things. So this was dated in 1333, was painted for the altar of Saint Assanis in the Duomo of Siena, so it's probably really big, really freaking big. And this is common to what you would have seen at that time. This is Effects of Good Government in the City, 1339. And this is Ambrogio Lorenzetti, and all of his stuff pretty much uses these same colors, and everything feels sort of like it's connected, like it's all sort of like, even though it's different, it's the same, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like, you don't look at it and you're not like bored, like, oh, it's the same painting. It just, he's like created a world almost with the, you know, the flat building, sort of the forced perspective. As we can see, like with the other painting, the people are kind of two-dimensional-ish, but expressive, right? We've got a little, this one's playing the tambourine. We got a donkey. Cool stuff. Very interesting. Now we have more altar pieces. In the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they have a nice collection of altar pieces. In fact, I think they have one of the most famous, whose name escapes me at this moment. This is the Holy Trinity. This is Rublev. This is probably Eastern Europe. No, maybe Greek. Rublev. You know, it would be nice if they told you, like, where this person was from. Where are they from? Troitsa. Okay, so like Russia-ish, I guess. We have the Battle of San Romano by Paolo Uccello. I think I've seen his stuff before, and I think most of his stuff is a little bit more calm. In this one, it looks like he unleashed his inner warlord. We got a horse over here that's bucking. What do we got going on up here? There's something crazy going on up here. There's people coming down from the heavens, but I'm not sure what's going on there. Somebody threw a bunny up in the air. No throwing bunnies in the air. Don't throw bunnies in the air. Unless you're going to catch them gently. Okay, next we have Piero della Francesca. And I'm sorry, I think I have like a bit of a cold or something. This painting is famous because you've probably seen the male counterpart. So there's the female and the male, so it's a husband and wife. They commissioned these paintings to be done. This is the Duke and Duchess of Urbino, and it's a portrait. And you can see like how far her hairline is, like it's super far back, like she has a really big forehead. She doesn't actually have a super big forehead. It was considered a sign of beauty to shave your hair back to a specific spot. But not like where most people have their hairline, and then to plait it or to do these intricate, crazy things with them. Now, I just want to bring your attention to how masterful this painting is. We've got the glint on the beads. In the background, we've got whatever that is, but there's a feeling that there's like stuff beyond. We can see that she's wearing some sort of complicated brooch thing. If we look, the jewels on her earpiece, just her skin, you can't even see like the strokes. It sort of really all kind of blends together. It's astonishing. I think this might even be like tempera. The work consists of two panels, the husband and the wife, painted on both sides, which we must imagine at one time were hinged to form a book. The inner side showed the facing portraits of the Duke and the Duchess, while on the covers were their respective triumphs. The Duke and the Duchess are shown in profile with accordance to the portrait tradition of the time, borrowed from the precepts of contemporaneous numismatics. The choice made it possible for the artist not to show the disfigured side of Federico's face. I forgot about that part. And it talks about the modulation of light, the delicate treatment of the faces. Doesn't say how it was done. I think it might have been tempura. You know what I mean. Not the stuff you eat. Oh, there he is. There's the husband. So I guess the other side of his face is kind of is disfigured in some way. 1468, Portrait of an Old Woman by Hans Memling. And he set himself up in a prosperous city, and he was in the right place at the right time. And people gave him lots of money to paint stuff. And so he painted this old woman. And there is a firm self-satisfaction in these features, meaning the woman, as at the confidence, awareness of virtue. So this is a woman who's very virtuous. And interesting piece. We have the Annunciation. Now there's a lot of Annunciations, different ones. A lot of artists took on this task of painting the Annunciation, and perhaps I'll talk about that at a future time, because some of them are actually kind of funny, and they're not supposed to be, but they are. Here we have the Portinari Triptych by Hugo van der Goes. Maybe that's a duplicate. Maybe it's just one van der Goes. Now, the people look weird, right? And it's sort of like, oh, this person, really doesn't know how to paint, because stuff doesn't look like real life. It looks like it's like a cartoon or something. But then when we blow it up and we look at it, we can see that the person that did this was exceptionally gifted, and that this was just the style at the time. Like if we look at the robe, the detailing on the robe, the baby Jesus, his skin is kind of glowing, the folds of the fabric. I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to paint folds in fabric, but it's a really difficult thing to do. And look, even the animals have expression. This cow's like, hey, what's going on? It's a very cool thing. I like that one a lot. This one is probably familiar. This is La Primavera, Spring by Botticelli Filippi. This one shows up a lot on calendars, greeting cards, printed material in general, and it's supposed to be spring and fertility. That's why the woman in the front is holding her belly. And if we look, actually, it looks like different women, but I believe, if my memory serves me right, the same woman was used for most of these. And you can kind of see that here with these two ladies, because they look kind of the same. And you can tell that it's probably the same as this lady. This lady looks a little different. But I know that artists, what they did is they had models that they really liked and they really kind of stuck to. And they would use those models over and over and over again. Sometimes those models were just their muses. And they received inspiration from them. Sometimes they were lovers. Sometimes they were married. It's a very interesting topic. During the pre-Raphaelite era, there was a group of women, and all they did was they would go around and offer themselves up as models for the paintings of the time. And because most of them were red-haired, and that was in style, and they had big curly hair, and they had a certain sort of shape, they became very popular. And these women became very rich by posing for these very famous artists. And some of them had come from very, very humble beginnings, and this allowed them to lift themselves up out of poverty. It's kind of cool. That is The Birth of Venus. This one I like a lot. St. Francis in the Desert by Giovanni Bellini, also a topic that is covered a lot by different artists. It's not just like this is the only painting of it. That was common back then. You didn't come up with your own idea. You didn't say, oh, I'm going to paint someone running across the field at sunset or whatever. Like you opened up the Bible and you said, okay, well, I'm going to paint Noah, putting his ark together. I'm going to paint the birth of the baby Jesus. I'm going to paint the apocalypse, which is a very popular subject. It's still popular. Reading about this balloon stuff in the world, you'd think it was the end of the, in the news, you'd think it was the end of the world, or there was going to be a UFO invasion. Hopefully, I'm actually rooting for a UFO invasion, but I don't think that's going to happen. But that would be wild, right? Or a fake UFO invasion if you listen to the conspiracy theorists. Look at how awesome this is painted. Oh, there's a little bunny there. In these paintings, even though it seems random, all of these animals mean something, and I couldn't tell you exactly what. But I know the donkey is obedience. I'm not sure what the bird, I couldn't even guess. I think the bunny is humility and humbleness to God, because you're so small and vulnerable. Some more paintings in the same style. We can see stuff, though, is starting to get a little bit maybe less detailed and more, I don't know how to explain it. If I had an art degree, I could. But there's a change here, right? You can definitely see the change. We're moving out of late medieval, early Renaissance, and people are starting to look more sort of three-dimensional. And this one is very famous with the two angels going, You see that one all the time on different things, coffee mugs, whatever. This is wild. Look how pretty this is. I love the colors that they used. And if you look at how bright they are, you think of how bright they must have been when they were first painted. Because painters at this time were mixing their own paint and doing everything themselves, making their own brushes probably. And this guy was able to put this together, Raphael, one of the most famous. I love his use of color. Here we have Bacchus and Ariadne by Titian. And we have a half boy, half goat. We've got some cheetahs. Very interesting picture. I'm not really sure what's going on here. I know there's a story behind it, but clearly there's some sort of intense conversation taking place. Again, we can see people are starting to look more realistic. People are starting to paint naked people. Now, this is the ambassadors from Hans Holbein the Younger in 1533. Now, if you look here, you see this weird thing here. You probably would have to use your phone to do this. But when this picture is looked at from a certain angle, this thing looks like a three-dimensional skull coming out of the picture. I swear to you, it's true. So this guy was able to paint this incredible portrait of these two brothers or ambassadors, maybe they're not brothers, and a three-dimensional skull. Now, in these paintings, everything means something. All of these little things on the table, the stuff that they're holding, the stuff that they're wearing. This is supposed to show that they're men of traveling and education and music. He's holding, I'm not sure what he's holding. Oh, it's the hilt of his sword, I think. No, I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up too, because I'm not sure. But it looks like he's holding something. Cool picture. Henry VIII, I am. Same guy, 1537. Henry VIII was a very portly man. Very interesting man. He was also a redhead, like me. He's the one that chopped off the heads of his wives. If you're not really sure who he is, that should tell you everything you want to know. If I'm scrolling fast past the naked bodies, it's because I don't want, anything, I don't want anyone getting offended. St. George and the Dragon by Jacopo Tintoretto. St. George and the Dragon, another common theme, not necessarily biblical, but in that sort of same kind of genre. It was accepted because they were talking about the saints. It was a story about the saint. At least I don't think it's in the Bible. Let me look that up. Is St. George and the Dragon in the Bible? Yeah, it appears a legend of some kind. But legends of saints started to happen, and the painting started to reflect that, not necessarily just what was in the Bible. used to have this beautiful picture of St. George and the dragon. I'm gonna have to find it and recreate it or get it because it was awesome. Okay, next we have the Dream of Saint Helena. Saint Helena's vision of the true cross is represented by two angels with the cross appearing to her as she sleeps. Derived from a more harmoniously composed design by Raphael, known through a number of prints, Veronese's picture diverges from its source in its dramatic cropping and the unusual knotty grouping of the angels in the cross at the top. Its format and off-balance composition indicates that it may have been painted as a decoration for an organ shutter, perhaps along with a now lost pendant. Saint Helena, mother of the Emperor Constantine, is said to have received divine guidance in her quest to discover where the true cross in which Christ had been crucified was buried. And even if this was made as an organ panel, we're starting to see more artistic liberties with colors, with the poses. They're more natural. This is a more natural expression. This is a woman who's sleeping. The angels are coming to her. Very cool. I have actually not seen that one before. This one is by Peter Bruegel the Elder. This one is also very common when they talk about art. They'll show this 1565. This is a common way that art was painted in that area at that time in Denmark. I think he was Peter. I think I misspelled that horribly. He was Dutch. He was a Dutch and Flemish artist, and he was... Hello, where was he born? He was born in Breda, which is in the Netherlands. There we go. That's where he's from. But there was the elder, there was the younger. There are a lot of paintings that sort of follow this format with, figures in the background. There's stuff going on. It's not necessarily a story per se, as it is the story that someone might create that's looking at it. Like, oh, there's people skating. These hunters are returning home, or maybe they're just setting out. Over here, there's like a blacksmith. And it's more free, I guess is the word I'm looking for. This is Peter Bruegel the Elder. Again, this is a different picture, and we can see he's capable of both types of painting, both as sort of non-realistic and sort of hyper-realistic, right? Because it's not like really realistic, but you can see how they might have served food at the time. There's, big, huge table. People sat around it. This is a peasant wedding. Ooh, look at this fancy guy. Portrait of Captain Thomas Lee. What is up with him? Is he wearing pants? Why is he not wearing pants? That is so weird. Let's see. He served in the English colonial forces in Ireland. His bare legs are a fantasy evocation both of the dress of an Irish soldier and that of a Roman hero. He was suspected of treachery to Elizabeth and visited London in 1594 to refute this. I don't know what happened to him after that. Maybe he died. I'm going to have to look it up. I can't stand not knowing. Oh. Let me look up. Duh. Captain Thomas Lee. He was... Well, what happened to him? Let's see. Doesn't say. I guess he died an unremarkable death. I apologize for making you go through that. I thought there was a more interesting story there. Looks like with his hand the way it is, that perhaps he was wounded in battle, because that seems like a very deliberate kind of choice, and it seems sort of awkward. And his legs are so so well done. It's like the artist was like, legs. I mean, they're very shapely. They're nice looking legs. Head of Medusa by Caravaggio. Caravaggio was an interesting guy. He got arrested a bunch of times. He was brutally murdered at the end of his life. Jahangir preferring a Sufi sheikh to kings from the St. Petersburg album by Big Jitter. I really have to work on my pronunciation a little bit more, but I'm doing this like kind of like live. Like I didn't do this and then like decide which one was the best one. I'm doing this one and this is it. So I'm mispronouncing names all over the place because I didn't look them up. But this is common of Persian art of the time. This would be a story from a religious text, and you would have, you know, like these flowers, this flower design around the page. Ooh. Artemisia Gentilici, a female painter, painted this. She was kind of recognized in her day, not like super recognized. You know, it was like, oh, she's good for a woman. Oh, her paintings are really nice for a woman. You know, that kind of thing. It's like when I was in the military and I would go, you know, up for a competition for rank or something. And when I made sergeant, some people said, "Oh, she got that because she was a woman." I didn't get it because I was a woman. I got it because I was a fucking badass. That's why. I'm going to have to put a not safe for work on this, I think. Well, yeah, this isn't something you'd want to watch at work anyway, right? Like, just me kind of babbling about art. So you can see she's cutting off this guy's head. I think he kidnapped her and raped her, if I remember correctly, and this is like her revenge. I think he might have killed her father, too. This one I like a lot. This is the fortune teller. So this sort of rich, proper guy from the rich side of town has wandered into the area where the fortune tellers are, and he hands her a coin, and she has the coin in her hand. And you see the delicate way his hands are. It's so beautiful. Look at the color of this. I love that color. And she's getting ready to talk, and he's just kind of looking and listening, and his people are around. This was a common style in probably the early 1600s. You'd have like this lace, not lace, I don't even know, like a sheer bodice. And then the bodices started to go lower and lower and lower and lower. And there was an actual time where women walked around with fancy dresses with their boobs out. And I swear to you, I'm not making that up. This is the Night Watch. I'm sure there's a story behind this one. I mean, obviously it's masterful. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. I'm kind of like, I guess I'm tapped out on this kind of style now. This is Vermeer. Woman holding a balance. Oh, I meant to bring my balance out. I have an antique balance from the gold rush. It's a, you know, where whoever was prospecting, they would carry it around in their pouch. So it's in this like canvas pouch, and you can like assemble it. It's really interesting. I'll bust it out next time. I got to remember to do that. Vermeer had sort of this hazy late afternoon quality to his work, sort of like you're peeking in on something that you're not quite supposed to, like they don't know you're there when you're looking, you know, it's you've intruded on this moment, but they don't know you're there. This is Saint Joseph and the Christ Child, unknown, late 17th century. Religious painting has always been there and will always probably be there, but its popularity would surge and then lower and then surge and then lower. You know, battle scenes might have been more important, portraits might have been more important, and also it depends on what part of the world you're in, because different areas of the world, they might not have had the ability to have the materials to make this kind of painting, right? There might have been rock art or pottery or some other type of art going on, which is still art. This is Beauty Looking Back from Hishiwaka Morinobu during the Edo period. From Spaniard and Mestiza. Okay. I really like that one. She's all like, I don't know. And the kid is creepy looking. I don't like the kid. Kid's creepy looking. Get that painting away from me. Ariadne abandoned by Theseus. So she's been abandoned. Look at how beautifully though this is painted. It's like it's like you could reach out and feel the sheerness of the material. And we look here with the jewelry box with the stuff spilling out of it. I feel like I could pick those pearls up and they would shine and sparkle in my hand. This picture is always used when people talk about sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is something that happens when you sleep. And when you sleep, there's an enzyme that's released. And it tells your body to be relaxed. And it tells your mind to be relaxed. At the same time. Sometimes they can get out of sequence, and sometimes what happens is your body wakes up, or your brain wakes up before your body. So your body still is in this immobile state, and so your brain tries to come up with what's going on, and voila, sleep paralysis. That's the conventional story. The unconventional story is that there are demons in this world, and that sometimes when we sleep, we slip into sort of an alternate universe. We're vulnerable. And these demons can come and prey upon us and take advantage of us. And sometimes they will even sit on us and try to take our soul. Now, I will tell you that I have had a sleep paralysis dream. I've had a couple, and they are absolutely terrifying. I mean, they're the scariest dreams I've ever had. And I've dreamt about severed heads and battles and people getting ripped apart, all kinds of terrible stuff. The sleep paralysis dreams, hands down, scariest dreams. Ooh, this is Watson and the shark. Yeah, he's not. I don't think you're gonna make it, dude. They're like, yeah, I don't think he's gonna make it. I'm not sure why everybody has a Forrest Whitaker eye. Sorry, Forrest Whitaker. I'm just using that as an example because people would know what I'm talking about. Right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Goethe in the Roman Campagna by Johann Heinrich Wilhelm Tischbein, 1787. Clearly a man of some wealth. Interesting. We're starting to see ruins in the backgrounds. You notice that? We're starting to see we'll come back to that. This is Miss Siddons as the Tragic Muse. I'm going to blow up her face by Joshua Reynolds. Joshua Reynolds was a very prolific artist. He painted a lot. Look at how cool this is. Look at her face. She's got her finger up. She's thinking. It's just it's like he was able to capture micro expressions, like there's expressions and then there's micro expressions, like the little subtle kind of things, the faces that people can make that mean something deeper. There are at least 3 versions of this. This is one of Reynolds' most famous paintings. Miss Siddons was the most celebrated tragedienne of the day. Her identification with the tragic muse, Melpomene, was a commonplace of the time. Blah, blah, blah. This is one of the women who posed. Mrs. Siddons, I think her name was Leela? Leslie? I'm gonna have to look that up. I can't not know. You know what I mean? Sarah. Okay, Sarah Siddons. She was a Welsh actress. And some famous painters also painted her because she was considered very beautiful for her time. And she was very beautiful, in my opinion. I don't know that I'd want to run around with all that finery on me, but Marat assassinated by Jacques-Louis David. This is, he was murdered. This is definitely a painting you can blow up and look at for a little bit. You've got the knife down here that he was murdered with. You can see where the knife went in. He was in the process of writing something. The quill is still in his hand. He's in the bath and he's out. George Washington! George Washington. What can I say? There's an artist who paints pictures of American historical figures like George Washington. Like, she'll recreate this, but then she'll destroy it. So it'll be like George Washington, but like deformed to make a statement on democracy. Let me find it. Painting. Deformed. George Washington. Here we go. I think I found it. Nope, that's not the one. That's different. That's something else. That's a copycat. Painting a ruined George Washington. This is going to really aggravate me, guys. Like, a lot. Oh, what do we call it? Painting. Modern painting of George Washington ruined. I don't know why that came up. That is not what I was looking for. We'll look for it some other time, and I'll show it to you. The ruined George Washington. Oh, this is a good one. Lion, a Newfoundland dog by Landseer Edwin Henry. He was famous for painting animals. And some people did not like him in his time because they thought that his paintings were too sentimental and thus not worthy of anything. But if we look, I mean, look at the way the fur is done. It even has like the dirty little elbows like dogs get. It feels like it's alive. It has an expression. Incredible. He painted the one where the guy has died and he's in bed and the dog is sitting there looking at his body. That's like Landseer's most famous painting that you might have seen before. Ooh, The Ruins of Holyrood Chapel by Louis Daguerre from 1824. See, we're starting to see the ruins. Uh-oh, it didn't work. I was trying to shrink it so we could see the whole thing, but it won't let you do that. But that's fine. This page is very generous. There's no ads. I can blow this stuff up. I can look at it. There's like little things I can read. So whoever put this together, I thank you. This is a beautiful thing. So this is, yeah. I'd love to be running around in there, right? Run around in there. Some music. Maybe some food. Some libations. View of the artist's house and garden in Mills Plains, 1835. J.M.W. Turner. J.M.W. Turner, one of my favorites. Painted later in his life he painted luminism, which is a style where the whole canvas just seems to be like lit up. And he started painting more realistic stuff, more like along the lines of like Frederick Church, Thomas Cole, Bierstadt. And then as he got older, he started to get more creative with his painting and more impressionistic. He wanted to sort of give the mood and the drama of the thing without actually showing the thing. He expertly captures that here. This painting is just wow. There's a rumor that he once lashed himself to a ship while the ship was out in a storm so that he could see what it was like when he painted one of his paintings, which is a ship in a storm, but it's just sort of, you can just tell that it's a ship, but it's not like really made out to be a ship. He painted a painting called Regulus. Regulus was a general. I don't think he was a Roman general, but he got captured by the other side and they cut off his eyelids and they tied him to a post in the sun and left him to die. And the painting Regulus by J.M.W. Turner is just, it's very bright. And it's like when you look at it, you almost feel as though you can feel the light yourself. Not a super great copy. This is not a great copy. It's mind-blowing. And that is my phone, and I just need to keep an eye on it because my honey is grocery shopping and will be coming home with groceries, and I will need to help him, at which time I will stop this. Be home 5-10 minutes. All right, that's it, folks. I guess we're out. Until next time, I'll pick it up with Art Part 2. So if you like this, You will definitely like that. Thanks for watching, guys.